We are live on YouTube.
And live in real life. Also.
We are live in real life, just not together live.
Right. We are all together separate.
All right.
All right. So Nick, you are planning to do one of those blue-green, I don't know, vacation rental deal thingies where
I sure am.
They put you up at anything but a blue-green while you stay.
Well, so you actually could get put up at a blue-green, but I didn't want to get put up at the blue-green. So yeah, we wrote about this choice privileges offer where you could get 80,000 points, and if you booked within 30 days, you also get a $25 AMEX gift card. So 80,000 choice points and a $25 gift card for $279, plus you pay the tax on the room, so another $40. So $320. Altogether. That seemed like a great deal. I mean, the 80,000 points is worth more than the 320 on its own, really. So, so then also getting the 3-night stay seemed great. And now I could have stayed at a blue-green property, but I would have gotten fewer points, first of all, if I stayed at a blue-green property. And then second of all, more importantly, I was hoping that this would trigger a promotion and I would earn hotel points, because with these blue-green vacations choice privileges things, and they're not the only ones, some of the other timeshare offers too, sometimes you get put up at like other brands. So for instance, I'm staying at a Marriott brand property instead of a choice property or a blue-green property. And so I'm hoping that I'm going to get double elite night credits. We'll see. I haven't yet gotten my Marriott Bonvoy number attached to it, but I do have the confirmation number now. So we're getting closer to the plan working out. But if I end up winning Marriott or getting Marriott points and double elite night credit, I'll take it as a huge win along with my 80,000 choice points for my Marriott stay.
All right. Well,
have you ever, Nick, have you ever gone through, or has anybody ever gone through one of the presentations?
Not choice. I have gone through other ones, but Stephen Pepper has been through the Wyndham one.
I did the Wyndham one, yeah.
And he wrote the guide.
Timeshare?
I'm sorry?
You own a Wyndham timeshare now?
I don't. I will say.
Did you lose?
Make it seem like it could be a good idea, but we were like going to say no anyway. And then when we did the math after, and then writing a post about it and all the comments beneath, it seems like where they really get you is the kind of monthly or annual management fee, and that's really where you end up losing out each year. And they don't really disclose, or they certainly didn't really disclose that at the timeshare presentation that we did. So it doesn't seem like it's ever worth buying from there, but just because you can get them on the secondhand market and it works out to be much better value if you're ever going to buy one like that.
Right. Yeah, I went through one presentation once and the price just kept getting cheaper every time we said no. I think it started literally, I kid you not, I think they started at $25,000. And by the time we said our final no, they were down to $5,000 plus the annual thing. So it's like, just a huge gap. But anyway, so we'll see. I look forward to seeing how they try and sell me on the idea of a timeshare. I can't imagine they'll convince me, but hey, I'll give them 2 hours to try for 80,000 points.
Oh, I would set the timer at 1 hour and
they
spend the entire second hour.
They did tell me they have a kids club for kids aged 3 and up and potty trained. And luckily my 2-year-old is not yet potty trained. So he's going to love the presentation.
Sure. Make sure that he doesn't get any sleep the night before.
I was especially happy to get that. Age 3 and up potty trained.
Like great. Soda.
Great.
That's awesome.
So we'll see.
The first 32-minute timeshare presentation.
Right.
Well, I do actually have some questions if we're ready to jump into those.
Let's go for it.
So this question came in actually before we started the live. Outside of Hyatt, what are your top 3 most frequently redeemed transfer partners over the last few years? And we'll call this a free-for-all question. Love to hear from multiple of you on this.
Is there anybody who Hyatt was not their most frequent transfer partner?
I think it was apart from Hyatt, right? Is that it? So like Hyatt is probably.
Is there anybody that Hyatt was not their most, that you actually had one that was above Hyatt?
Not for me. Hyatt's definitely number one.
Well, yes, but only because I'm buying tickets for 4 passengers. So I've redeemed more points with probably with Avianca Life Miles than I have with with Hyatt because I'm redeeming for 4 passengers each time. So, and I have done quite a bit of Avianca Life Miles redemptions. I wrote about the manual booking earlier this week, but I've also found quite a bit of Star Alliance availability. I flew back on United from Brussels on a trip to Europe this last year, and I've got a couple of trips actually planned this year on Avianca Life Miles also. So yeah, I think that's probably been my number one. I was going to say American because I've bought a lot of miles in the Simply Miles deal, but that's not a transfer partner. So Avianca is the biggest one that comes to my mind immediately. I have to think about the other two. Anybody else got an answer?
United until like right before the pandemic was probably my number one other than Hyatt. So even though Life Miles was like a better deal, there were times where I just couldn't get Life Miles to bring up the route I needed, and so the
all you
price
needed was a manual booking, Greg.
Price wasn't that much different, and I wasn't willing to do the manual booking.
Fair enough.
So we get some deviations from Hyatt.
Anybody else got like another big one that they've used a lot?
What's the most recent you've each done? So mine is probably Choice, I think.
And we're not counting like booking directly using membership reward, using transferable currency. We're talking about actual transferring, right?
Right.
Yeah, right.
So most recent, everybody.
Life Miles for me. That was just this last week.
Life Miles for me.
I think Southwest.
Aeroplan for me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, very good. I've done a lot of Southwest also, though. That was a good pick.
I could be wrong on that because I don't do most of our bookings, but what comes to my mind. All right, well, I'm gonna skip on to the next question. This one's for Nick. Do you remember the name of the canyoneering place you went to in Cebu? Somehow when you advertised it as almost killing you, people want to do it.
They're sending their in-laws on the trip.
I booked it via Viator. And so I don't even remember the name of the company I booked through Viator, but the company I booked through Viator was basically like a taxi service that brought you places. And like they took my money and then gave my money to like local tour companies. So even if I knew the name of the company that I booked with, there's no guarantee that they would book you with the same canyoneering company. And I'll have to go through and see if I took a picture of any of their stuff. I don't remember the name of it, but
maybe they were, can zoom in.
Yeah, there you go. They were as good as probably anybody doing that thing. If you've ever been to like Baños, Ecuador, which I know is a pretty random reference, but very similar in that there's like a whole bunch of tour companies doing the same exact tours. I'm not really sure it makes a huge difference which one you go with.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. All right, this next one's for Greg. Hi, since you just booked your first Vacasa vacation rental stay, do you anticipate incorporating Vacasa stays into your future domestic travel plans? P.S. Welcome to the Vacasa Club. So we've got fans out
Thank
there.
you. Yeah, I actually this morning booked another one.
Nice.
so yeah, I mean, there's such great deals. I mean, it's basically, if you think about that, you can buy the points for a penny each when they're on sale. It's actually a tiny bit less than a penny, but you're talking about $150 per bedroom, and that's after tax. That's not like, normally you have to do all these adjustments to figure out, well, what's it really going to cost me? But that's an amazing deal in so many places. Like, so if you want to stay somewhere in Hawaii or California or any expensive area, if they've got Vacasa vacation rentals there, what a deal.
I've been eyeing it up for places like Yellowstone and things like that, where it can be super expensive either with points or with cash. And we were looking at that for this year originally before, and then we changed our plans around, but we're going to be heading there next year. And yeah, there were some really nice looking 1-bedroom places somewhat near Yellowstone. So that'll probably be how we end up booking that.
Yeah,
cool.
And it's so cool. They now have this dedicated phone line. So you don't have to worry about will they know what I'm talking about when you call to book. They know exactly that's what they're there for, and they seem ready and able to do it. I didn't have any issues at all with my 2 bookings.
Cool.
On a scale, really quickly, a follow-up question for those of you that have used Vacasa. On a scale, so Wyndham is redoing their award chart, making award chart changes on February 22nd. On a scale of 1 to 10, how fearful are you?
12. Smoke them if you got them. I would totally like look at that sooner rather than later. I mean, I don't know, but I would think that if they're going to change their award chart, there's a fair shot. I mean, there's definitely a chance that nothing will change with Wyndham, but there's at least a fair chance that this will go up, right?
Yeah, there's precedent here. So cottages.com, when that first rolled out, it was exactly the same pricing, 15,000 per bedroom per night. And then they later introduced or 30,000. Like, you know, it just depends on the property. And so, you know, obviously 30,000 per bedroom makes a big difference.
Right.
So, it's not always such a great deal anymore on the cottages side.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. This next one is for everybody. How many of you, well, for everyone it applies to, how many of you got an email from AMEX today for guest access to the lounge despite not spending $75K?
Not me.
What?
Not me.
Looks like Stephen.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually get the email, but I got the email on my wife's behalf, and she got it on every single one of her like personal and business.
They wanted to make sure she knew that she could bring guests.
So Amex has been blowing up my inbox today because I've gotten 6 emails on her behalf today saying that she can bring in a guest if she wants to. Whereas I've got a nothing. So I'm figuring that it seems that it'll be done on an account level, because it seems weird that she would be targeted randomly 6 times, whereas all the rest of us have had a single email.
Weird.
You know, I think it's kind of crazy that they don't count cumulative spend over multiple platinum card accounts. That, like, if you've got more than one platinum card, I think they ought to put those together towards your 75K instead of having to spend 75K on one single one. But who am I? I'm a guy who didn't get the email. That's who I am.
I'm wondering if maybe it is done based on actually spending 75K, because I feel like in the last year she's had like 3, maybe 4 new business platinum cards. And so with all of the spending on that and other general spending, I'm wondering if she did spend 75,000 and that's how they're targeting maybe across all of her platinum cards.
That would be logical.
And
if they
and so because they're saying, okay, you spent this much on platinum cards, just not all on the same one. That might make sense, but I haven't bothered going through.
I haven't looked through, but I have to be close-ish. I wonder, like, I don't know if I went over or not, but I gotta go back and look, because I was curious once I started seeing those emails go out. I was like, oh, I wonder if you had to have just spent 75K across everything. I don't know. I didn't get it. Steven got it. Anybody else get it?
Aaron got, or my wife got it.
Your wife got it, yeah.
But not evidently it's more of a P2 thing.
I see.
P1s are exempt from the. So Drew probably got one, Carrie.
So I have a question for everybody watching this at home. Have you hit the like button yet on your YouTube? Underneath the screen,
I
there's a little
hope
thumb up. Click the thumbs up for us. It helps us get more noticed by YouTube. So we might come up in searches and everything. So do us that little favor.
Thank you. Cheers to all of you for
like and subscribe. This next one is a very broad question that I'm going to send to Tim. With the American Airlines Loyalty Points earning period ending on February 28th, what are your plans for the Loyalty Points game in 2023?
Well, it depends on if we have another competition, I'm going to have to win it again. So that will certainly affect my plans. If I personally was left to my own devices, I made Platinum Pro this year, but I actually get a higher, weirdly enough, and it's not supposed to be that way. It appears that I actually get a higher upgrade priority on American when I'm using my Alaska number in the reservation, as opposed to when I'm using the American, because I'm a top tier for Alaska. And so given, I imagine that this isn't the last year we're going to see that status match promotion coming out that happened over the end of this last year, where they effectively break down the yearly earnings into 4-month periods, not 3-month, which would seem to be more sensible, but 4-month periods. And then they effectively give you a trial and then allow you to earn up to a certain level every 4 months. So I would be tempted to just let it expire this year, now that we've kind of done it once, and then just pick that back up if I ever need to, or if I never even need to get status on American by using one of these challenges. That said, I mean, gamer's gonna game. So if we end up, doing another competition, well, we'll see. But I don't know. I mean, it seemed like am I just like, I felt like personally, I sort of was running out of steam at the end of the year. Like it didn't have quite the pull, and there wasn't quite the flurry of offers that I saw at the beginning of the year. I mean, I still did it and was able to do it, and it wouldn't be that hard to continue. But it just towards the end of the year, it felt a little, didn't quite have quite the excitement. I don't know. Did anybody else feel that?
I mean, at the beginning of the year, there were a lot of exciting, stacking opportunities, and
then they
also
started
a lot
bidding
of like
frequent miler.
yeah, that's right. They were like,
Way to kill that, Greg.
we shouldn't be doing this.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I was just reading last year, right about this time, this was right about when the bike promo was going out, the BYTE promo for the dental things.
Yeah.
Remember that one? And there's
Yeah,
all
I
sorts
do.
of stuff like that. And it just doesn't, it hasn't, the deals haven't seemed quite as fun.
Bummer.
And it kind of picked up for me at the end of last year because giftcards.com started running a whole bunch of gift card promos.
Right.
And so several of those were break even or profitable for like marginally profitable for reselling. And even though in theory they had a limit of one, they just let me put in order after order after order. And so I ended up just clicking through from the American portal and racked up a ton of miles and loyalty points through that. And so that's what pushed me up to platinum in the end, because I probably wouldn't have ended up getting there without. But now that giftcards.com isn't on any of the airline portals, then I don't think that I'm going to be doing anywhere near as much. I'm hoping that I'll get gold again, just through kind of minimal effort. But other than that, I don't think that this coming year that I'll be making all that much effort, just because I don't think we're going to be flying with American all that much in 2024, or certainly not domestically, where it might make all that much of a difference anyway. So it doesn't seem worth kind of like playing the games and diverting spend from other opportunities to do that.
All right.
Did you get Platinum Pro in the end?
No, I skipped all of the giftcards.com deals, and in hindsight, that was a huge mistake, because I would be at Platinum Pro if I had just done the giftcards.com gift cards every month. But I couldn't justify it, because I was like, oh, Capital One Shopping is offering 6% back or 8% back. And I was like, how do I justify the cost of taking only 3 miles per dollar? And so, of course, what did I do? I just didn't order any gift cards at all, and that made a lot of sense. So
What
yeah,
happened? You were thinking about doing that match thing that would.
I didn't
would
get
have given
targeted
you
for it.
a few months.
I didn't get
Oh, you
targeted
didn't
for
get
it.
targeted.
No, I didn't realize.
Okay.
I assumed that I was targeted, and so
Yeah.
like I talked about it as though I was going to do it, thinking that I
Right.
must be targeted, and then went in and I wasn't. So no, I'm only at platinum now. I mean, of course, there are like 20 days left, and so I'm not I haven't totally thrown away the idea of doing Platinum Pro, but a lot of stars would need to align for that to work out, probably with 20 days left. But crazier things have happened. The only reason I would go after Platinum Pro is for a match to some other airline that's more useful in the future. Like I have ANA, Platinum status right now that gives me Star Alliance Gold, and I have a couple of trips where I'm probably going to be able to use a United Club right now. And something like, having Platinum Pro for something like that, I feel like could be worth it, but not really for flying American, because I don't do a lot of that either. So,
All right, I'm going to cut you guys off.
Yep. Done.
Now, this one I'm going to give to Greg. I'm thinking about getting the Citi Premier in order to unlock all of Citi's transfer partners. Do you think I should open the Citi Premier or wait to see if Citi releases new credit cards?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't wait to see if they release new credit cards necessarily, but you might want to wait and see if they bring back the 80K offer for the Citi Premier card. So if you're not in a hurry to transfer to partners, they had that 80K offer out for quite a while, and it just fairly recently went down to 60. So, I would give it till, I don't know, August or September, and see if by then it reappears. Then, if you can.
Because it was around for about 6 months or something. One other thing, just to note on the Citi Premier, is that a lot of people who have reported getting declined for the card when they've applied. It seems like Citi is being incredibly strict, and there seems to be no kind of rhyme or reason, and people are getting answers, say like reasons for being declined as things like you've applied for too many cards in the last few years when they haven't applied for a single card and things like that. So don't be too surprised if you end up applying but don't end up getting it. So just a word of warning there in case you were like gonna put all your eggs in that basket.
All right, so this one is for everybody. What's the one flight product you haven't taken or hotel that you haven't stayed at that is at the top of your list? And the follow-up is, why haven't you done it yet?
What's wrong with
I think
you?
that's a great picture, great question.
A&A Suites for me. I mean, that would be that's the fight. Like, I mean, honestly, you know, that's probably, I've been curious about that ever since it came out. And the reason why I haven't done it is simply because it's been so freaking hard to get 2 seats at one time. Let alone 5, like Greg managed to do.
I was going to say, well, I've got some good news for you, Tim.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for Greg to give me a seat. Yeah, but no, it looks like a marvelous thing. I'm looking forward to doing it.
Anyone have any dream bucket list things?
There's so many flight things I haven't done yet. I haven't done Q suites yet. I haven't done. I'd like to do ANA's the room. I'd like to do the new Emirates first, and I'd like to do the new Singapore suites. So those are as far as flights go.
Why haven't you done any of
Yeah,
those?
why, Greg?
Other things have been done in the meantime.
Here, please.
So I just got to spend about 24 hours in Q Suites this week, and it was fantastic. So yeah,
Nice.
it definitely
I spent like 1 hour in them, and I agree, it was fantastic for the hour I was there.
What about a hotel? What's a hotel or a property?
Yeah, what are the hotel hotspots people have in mind?
That Candlewood Suites in Newark. That's
Yeah. Yeah,
Honeymoon
I want
place.
to miss that. You know, there's so many nice properties. It's
So
really hard
many,
to pick. I always I recently had this conversation with Tim. Like, I always had this image of the Gritty Palace in Venice being a place that I would love to stay someday. But why I haven't, I was telling Tim that my wife and I went to Venice years ago, and there was a transit strike. And so like nobody was in Venice because you couldn't get in or out. So everybody that was there got out to go somewhere else. They didn't want to be stuck in Venice, and few people came in. So it was like empty. So we have this Venice memory that's like not replicable. And so we've kind of decided we're not going to go again because it's not going to feel the same. So I'm probably not going to stay at that place, even though I feel like that's a place I would enjoy. Like, the place looks so cool to me and always has, but like there's so many luxury hotels, so there's always something. I mean, I feel like my list would be like a mile long in terms of places and why I haven't.
How about everyone else? Is there something on the top of your list that you wish you can do?
One place I've been intrigued by for the last few months is the Fuji Speedway Hotel. So that one had showed up a few months ago as one of the hotels you can book and get 500 points a night just because it's a new Hyatt property. And so it's a brand new hotel that's been built on the Fuji Speedway, or like right next to the Fuji Speedway. And you can like take your rental car out onto the track and things like that. It just looks like a really cool kind of place. So I've no idea as to the quality of the hotel itself. It just looks like a beautiful setting and a fun place to actually be. Otherwise, in terms of luxury hotels, I've increasingly found that all of the particularly nice, like expensive hotels, I don't end up enjoying all that much, just in terms of it doesn't feel like it lives up to the expectations of how much I trip with points. And so I actually kind of prefer kind of like mid-range to upper. I'm starting to find because I found like that's good quality, you get really good service, but you don't have such high expectations as with some of the other places.
I can see that. Or sometimes there's an effect of like, the fancier it is, the more restricted all the amenities are. So like, you know, I don't know, like free breakfast, kind of like easy at a Holiday Inn or something. I'm like the only one using that as an example. I have bucket list destinations, but not so much like specific hotels.
What's your bucket list? What's your bucket list destination right now? The top one.
The top one. When we went to Georgia, it was raining the whole time, and we had these plans of renting a car and seeing the mountains. This is the country, Georgia. and we decided it wouldn't be worth it if it's just raining the whole time. I would love to kind of redo that plan at some point.
Mhm. That's
That would be
fun.
bucket list.
Very nice.
I'm going to move us along though. Steven, I'm going to Mardi Gras next week, staying at the Eliza Jane Hotel on Hyatt Points.
Hmm.
Any recommendations for things to do? I feel like I remember reading you guys visited during Mardi Gras. I'm going to add brownie points for myself. I've actually visited during Mardi Gras as well.
Yeah, we did go during Mardi Gras in 2020, so it was about 2 weeks before the world shut down, and so we were incredibly fortunate to be in such a crowded place at the time and not end up having any issues with people happening to have like early COVID kind of stuff. Yeah, it was. I actually really enjoyed it because I'm more of an introvert. My wife's an extrovert, but we both very much enjoyed it. We didn't do kind of the full Mardi Gras experience. We stayed at the Hyatt Centric, so we were just off Bourbon Street, but we didn't spend a ton of time on Bourbon Street just because like that ended up being like fairly busy and we had our dog with us. So we did some things. We did a couple of parades, but then once you've kind of like done a couple of parades, it kind of felt like, okay, well, we've done that. We don't necessarily do each one. And we got a little bit unfortunate because that was a year where a couple of people ended up passing away during the parades. And so that kind of affected the overall vibe of Mardi Gras itself. But what I'll do, I have a post on our site where we shared kind of like what we did during that. So I'll just go and share that in the
nice.
comments on YouTube. So that way,
yeah, while you're doing that, I'll say we similar, like when we went to Mardi Gras, we were at a hotel that was close enough that we didn't have to do much to like see it. We just walked, I think it was the Intercontinental or something. We popped out and would take a look, and we didn't do a ton of the parade stuff and whatnot. But I had a friend who booked some kind of, I think, Airbnb experience that gave a tour of like where they set up the floats and stuff. And she said that was incredible. So if you can find some kind of experience like that that shows you something behind the scenes, that sounded so cool. I think that's the way to do it. And then also you have to go eat at a restaurant called Hobnobbers.
Oh, that's great.
It's the bar. So Hobnobbers is the name of the bar, but you don't go to the bar. I mean, you could, I don't know. I've never actually gone to the bar. You go behind the bar. There's an amazing diner, but like, I think it closes by like early afternoon or something, but it's all just like great, Cajun casseroles and stuff. So of course my Mardi Gras recommendations are going to be like food, basically.
Okay, well, I'll give a drink recommendation. If you go to New Orleans, you have to go and get a hurricane at Pat O'Brien's, which is the home of the original Hurricanes. So at least get yourself one of those.
Cool.
And they're very good.
Did you get to share your link?
I did, yes.
Okay,
yeah, I've
cool.
shared both of those.
Sweet. I'm going to shoot this next question over to, I think it's Nick's turn. Based on don't use AMEX to buy gift cards, how detailed do credit card companies know what I bought? And then he gave a few examples. He said, for instance, they see $200 at Staples. Do they know it's a gift card?
So it depends on the retailer and probably, I assume, the issuer also. But what you're talking about is called level 3 data. So if they get level 3 data, they see exactly what you bought. And there's like a website somewhere where you can look, I think, and see which stores give level 3 data. If you Google level 3 data, you can probably find that. And so it does vary. I mean, sometimes they do know everything you bought. Now, the whole don't use Amex to buy gift cards, I've said before, I feel like is kind of overblown. The advice on that is generally don't use obvious gift card purchases to meet the minimum spending requirements. And by obvious, I mean like giftcards.com, Simon Malls, Staples. No, I mean, I probably wouldn't do the entire spending requirement, but a couple of gift cards at Staples, maybe I wouldn't worry as much, but maybe I'm playing it fast and loose. Best off to make legit purchases if you can. But then after that, I don't know as though the fear is all that, I don't know, justified, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Not that some people might not get shut down. You might. There's a lot of things that vary, like your account history. And have you been, you just all of a sudden go and drop 10 grand on gift cards out of the blue? do and then do it again? Or have you been buying a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there, and then it's a couple thousand more? So there's a lot of variables and ins and outs, but yeah, so it's going to vary store to store in terms of how much data they give. I assume that the stores get a discount on their processing fees by giving more data. That's the way I would do it if I were the issuers anyway. So yeah, it's going to vary. I remember on my Amex statements, it used to say with some stores, it used to actually say what I bought. I remember like Neiman Marcus purchases, for instance. I remember my Amex statement saying exactly what I bought at Neiman Marcus.
Merino wool sweater.
Yeah.
In the same green color.
Detailed stuff out.
The worst is when it says and it was a little tight on you.
Well, I wouldn't know, Greg. That didn't happen on my
recommended. All right, this one I'm going to give to Tim. I'm planning to cancel IHG card to be able to apply for new 175,000 bonus. How long do I need to wait after canceling before I can reapply?
And so what this question is referring to is the IHG consumer cards or the personal cards have a rule where you can only have one card, one of the various personal cards that they have. And that includes the two that are live now, as well as they had a legacy one called the IHG Select that a lot of people back in the day have, because it's a $49 annual fee and you still get a 40,000 point certificate every year. And so the rule is that you can't get another consumer card if you already have one of those cards. In terms of how long you have to wait after canceling it, that's an interesting, I don't know of any, and maybe somebody else's, I don't know of any rule necessarily. It seems like a week. A lot of people wait a week and seem to be just fine. I saw a data point from a guy that applied the day after he got the card and was denied, and then called reconsideration 2 days after he canceled the card and was approved on reconsideration by just saying, "Hey, I canceled this card." So I don't know. Maybe somebody else knows, but as far as I know, it's a fairly quick turnaround.
All right, cool. Any other thoughts before we kick it? All right, Greg, best way to use 90,000 thank you points right now.
On the clock, go.
As of now.
Best way is if you have the Premier card, then you can transfer 1 to 2 to Choice. So that becomes 180,000 Choice points. Use them in Nordic Choice properties. You could stay about a month there and do really, really well.
And if it's like Clarion Collection, you get breakfast and dinner. And there's a couple of properties, a couple different brands where you get breakfast and dinner.
Whoa.
Which is big in Scandinavia, guys. If you haven't been, that'll save you some money.
And depending on how urgent this is, so if you think that you're on the verge of getting shut down by Citi and so you need to transfer out your points immediately, then fair enough. If you have like a week and a half or something like that to wait, one option would be they're going to be doing a transfer bonus to Virgin Atlantic starting on February 19th. And so that would be another potentially good option, provided you can actually make use of those points.
Cool. Great. All right. I guess this can be a free-for-all for everybody. How did you guys convince player 2 to come on board to the points game? Let's start with Stephen.
I think it might have been my wife who ended up applying for like one of the miles cards first, because it was back when there was a US Airways card, and it was one that I'd been eyeballing anyway. And then she had taken a US Airways flight and picked up a thing where it had a slightly higher bonus. And she told me afterwards she'd applied for it and was like, I guess maybe I should have asked you first, like in case there's a better thing. And I was like, no, actually you did really good with that. So she's pretty good with that. She isn't all that interested in the whole points and miles thing, but she is a really good sport. And so she'll happily let me apply on her behalf, and she'll call banks when needed and things like that, and do kind of what's necessary, but she leaves everything else to me. So it actually works out pretty well that way.
Nice. How about the rest of y'all?
I mean,
pretty similar for me.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you mean by on board.
Like literally on the plane, maybe?
Like, well, I mean, if you mean by on board in terms of, hey, honey, can you apply for different cards and get into this the way I am? I think that's an unreasonable expectation in my household. And so I think for me, honestly, it's been more about figuring out where that line is to like what's and not trying to push past it. like, when I first started getting into this, I had, the 7 cards in her wallet with the tape on each one showing where she could use. And I gave that up after like 3 months because it wasn't making anyone happy. So now I know I have 2 cards. So I have to strategize around which 2 cards most befit her spending pattern. And she knows like where to send emails and stuff like that. And I've learned that, I don't even have to change my voice when I call on her behalf anymore. So I envy those whose player 2s actually are willing to make the bank calls, because it's always a little weird. And her name is Erin, and spelled so it's just ambiguous enough that people will, oh sir. And then sometimes when they ask for the full name and I say Erin Louise, then they're like, wait. But I mean, nobody ever questions it anymore, so.
Yeah.
What about you, Carrie? How did you convince player 2 to get on board?
Player 2 was like calling me like, please, can we sign up for these credit cards? Even before we were married, we were like engaged. He's like, once we get married, can I please? Anyway.
That's awesome.
Oh.
That's how I remember it anyway.
So one other thing to add with this, if the person asking this question is concerned because their player 2 isn't keen on even applying for any credit cards because they're worried about their credit score or anything like that, I think just take it slow and steady. Try and put together an amazing trip based on whatever you can end up putting together based on the cards you're applying for. And then hopefully when they're flying business class and staying in a suite at a nice Hyatt or something like that, that you can book with points, that might help convince them as to, oh, okay, this is actually worth the effort. And it seems like, just based on various comments that I've seen on Facebook before, that's kind of been what's switched their player 2 over to, okay, I'll be a bit more of an active participant in this and be willing to apply for some cards.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's...
You don't think player 1 should be like in the front of the plane and say to player 2, could have been up here with me.
Could have been. Maybe that's the motivation, right? I feel like my player 2 has more of an appetite for risk even than I do. I feel like I've always had to kind of be like, oh no, we need to slow down on this or that, because she's always been willing and able and happy to participate. But I think that our first premium cabin redemption at Hyatt first class, I feel like at some point she looked over at me and she's like, we need to apply for some more cards. So I feel like Steven's
awesome.
right. You get that first, first really good experience, and it's probably easy from there.
Get a taste.
Yeah.
How about Pam? Was she pretty easy to convince?
I mean, it was never really an issue. Like, sort of like Tim's situation. She was never going to do any of the stuff required, but she's happy to let me do it on her behalf. So, I pick out the cards to sign up for them. She's happy as long as I'm managing the whole process. So, I mean, I learned to not even, use her regular email address. I use one that goes to me, so that she doesn't even have to be
that's a great idea.
involved at all. And it's still an issue if there's a requirement.
That's an interesting
idea.
Bank, I never thought of that.
Yeah, that's what I do.
There's this Pam at frequentmiler.com. All right. So next up, we'll give this one to, I forget where we're at the line. We'll start over. Greg. Do you get prorated refund when you upgrade to Chase Sapphire Reserve from Chase Freedom and downgrade after a couple of months of holding Chase Sapphire Reserve?
I assume so. Does anyone know for sure? I mean, I'd be surprised if you didn't. I don't know why they wouldn't.
So the question
Let's go with yes.
Let's go with probably yes.
To the Sapphire Reserve and then back down. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's prorated.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Steven, what's the best move after? So this has, what's the best move after the first year of Capital One Venture? Cancel or upgrade to Venture X?
I guess possibly hope that you get lucky and get a upgrade offer to the Venture X, which happened on my wife's venture card, although that was actually the second year. The first year I had forgotten that her venture card was coming up for renewal, and then it did end up renewing. And by that stage with Capital One, you can't just like cancel or downgrade and get the annual fee back, from what I can remember. And so I just kept it, and then yeah, got lucky that she got the upgrade offer to Venture X. So I think Nick might be a better qualified person for this, because I feel like he's much more in tune with all the Capital One like downgrade options and things like that. If you want to have like a no annual fee card, I can't remember. Can you switch to a saver card from it?
So it depends on no, not a saver card, at least not that I've seen anyway. It depends on the account. It's so weird. They call it all an upgrade, even when you're downgrading, like you know, to a card with no annual fee. Capital One still calls it an upgrade. Yeah. So, and the upgrade offers can vary from person to person. So first of all, you won't get an upgrade offer to the Venture X unless you have a credit line of at least $10,000. So if your credit line on your Venture card is any less than that, upgrading to the Venture X won't be an option unless you maybe request a credit limit increase and move up. But you can product change. Again, it varies person to person, but in my Venture card accounts, we've had the ability to product change to a Venture One card, which has no annual fee, or a Quicksilver card, which has no annual fee. Out of those two, I would pick the Venture One card because while it only earns 1.25 miles per dollar and I wouldn't put any spend on it, at least it retains the ability to transfer your existing Capital One miles to partners. So that's what I would do, I think. And I would probably do that rather than canceling if that's an option, only because if someday in the future you get an offer to upgrade to the Venture X that's interesting, you know, you'd want to have a Venture card in order to be able to get that, number one. And number two, if you just decide you want the Venture X, applying outright, you never know if you're going to get approved with Capital One. So I wouldn't want to get rid of any Capital One trade lines that you can hang on to.
And speaking of which, I had been thinking about applying for Venture X for my wife at the time. And so what I did is applied for the Venture X, she got approved for that and then accepted the upgrade offer. And so I think we've just met minimum spend on both of them. So I need to double check to make sure that the upgraded card ended up getting the bonus as well, and that applying for the card outright didn't end up somehow cancelling the bonus on the upgrade offer. So
and that's worth mentioning, that not everybody gets a points offer for upgrade. Like my wife has a Venture One account and she can upgrade it to a Venture X, but there's no bonus attached. So keep that in mind.
All right. This one was going to be for Nick, I think. Best hotels in Hawaii on points.
You know, maybe it's not best for me. This might be best for Tim, because I feel like Tim has been to Hawaii probably a lot more times than I have. So what do you think, Tim?
That's a tough one. It kind of depends on by island. And to my, I would say, you know, for years, I would say that the absolute best one was the one on, it's called the Westin Hapuna Beach. It's north of Kona on the Big Island. Used to be a marvelous place. I mean, still is a marvelous place, but they've a lot of the elite benefit. It's gotten a lot more expensive. You used to be able to get on a 35K cert, and now it's around 60,000 points, which is still cheaper than any other beachfront hotel you're going to find in Hawaii. But still, it's a great property. It's got a killer beach. It's in a great area. It's just it's not quite the like the unrestrained hotel that it used to be. On Oahu, I think that there's a couple Hyatt properties that you can get with us category 1 through 4 cert that are right in it's a Hyatt place and the Hyatt place is the one that I think is actually better between those two, that I think is 12,000 points a night. They play a lot of games with standard availability around the holidays, so that can be kind of yucky. The Grand Hyatt on Kauai is a dynamite property that I think is probably everybody's favorite when it comes to redemptions on that island. And then also, you know, honestly, I was just looking, and everybody talks on Maui about the Andaz Wailea, but there's a bunch of condos that are right behind the Andaz Wailea that are actually destination properties for Hyatt. And I was just looking through the second half of this year, even around the holidays, there was a ton of availability. And you could get a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo for 17,000 Hyatt points and no resort fee, no taxes, no cleaning fee, no nothing. And then you could, on some of them, you could upgrade. You could use an upgrade certificate to get up to or go up to or spend 24,000 and get a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, which for Hawaii, Maui in December and Wailea is an incredible deal. I haven't stayed at any of these, but it made me, I kind of put a check mark to say, you know what, we should probably check some of these out sometime and just see where they're at.
Yeah. So for an upcoming stay in Hawaii, I actually tried to book a destination Hyatt and upgrade with a suite upgrade certificate, even because the 2 bedrooms were listed as standard suites on the site, but I was told that that hotel does not participate in suite upgrades. So I'm guessing that, I don't know if any destination hotels do, but it's something to watch out for. And then I discovered that the Vacasa deal was way, way better anyway. So went that way.
All right, I'm going to give us a flag that it is now 9:45 Eastern, which we had discussed as being a good chance to chat about some updates for our challenge. So Greg, why don't you
Sure.
update
Yeah.
everybody on
So
all that?
as probably everybody watching already knows that we regularly do these team challenges, and that this year we have booked a flight to Japan, first class, on ANA for all 5
Business
of us.
class. Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought you
No.
said to Japan.
Oh
From
no,
Japan.
you're right.
Yeah,
You're right. I
yeah,
have it
yeah.
backwards.
Yes.
To Japan in business class on Japan Airlines, and coming back from Japan in first class on ANA. And so our trick then was to figure out, okay, what's the challenge around that? And we've come up with one where the idea is that we are each going to plan 2 days of the trip for the whole team of 5 people. And there's going to be a whole bunch of, I guess, challenges to earn bonus points, sort of like we did with the global upgrade certificate trip, the GUC trip, that where Nick alone had all kinds of bonus opportunities, but in this time, everybody will have opportunities to get bonus points, and we'll see who can build the best 2 days. And so we're still working out some of the logistical details about that, but one of the things that we know we want to do is book these things in order, so that the first person plans 2 days and then tells the person who goes next where the team will be in the world after those 2 days. Could be in the same place they started, but it could be somewhere totally different, and so that person then can plan for the next 2 days. So the idea is that each of us will have a week probably to do our planning, and then we'll move on.
Pass on the baton.
The other thing we've decided, we only have 6 days in between the Japan trips, and so Japan flights. So we decided we're going to do the the first part of the contest will be 3 2-day chunks in Asia, and then the remaining 2 2-day chunks, remaining 4 days, will be in the Americas. And so so at this point we don't know who's going to be planning for Asia or for the Americas or what, except for one person knows. The one person who knows is me, because when we talked this through, we realized that since the plan is for me to do actually most of the booking, if not all the booking, with my points and my credit cards, that I'll need to know when people are making plans what those plans are, at least enough to book the travel portions of it. So so the idea is I'll go first, so I know that I'll be booking plans for 2 days starting in Tokyo, and where we end up, we don't know. I don't know yet. And then someone else will do the next 2 days, someone else will do the next 2 days, and then we fly back to the States, and then we have 2 people go from there. So that's the 100,000 feet. Did I miss anything before we talk about how we're going to pick who goes first? or second, I guess, and
Second,
third and
yeah.
fourth and
Yeah.
fifth.
I don't think so. Let me quick see if anybody has any glaring questions in the comments. Did you?
So essentially 10 days. Each one of
Not
us is going
yet.
to plan 2 days of the trip. And we got to figure out the order that we're going to go in so that Greg will
Right.
book his, then the next person books theirs. So we got to figure out who that next person is and where it goes from there.
All right. So here's how we're going to figure that out. It's going to be a random draft. So the way it'll work is I'm going to number the team members from 1 to 4. And it's based on just how they happen to be arranged in my Zoom screen. And I realize it might not be the same for you watching, but actually I could look at the Zoom screen on the screen. I'm going clockwise from Carrie. She's number 1. Steven's number 2. Tim is 3. Nick is 4.
Yes.
And
lucky number 4.
Then what I'm going to do,
4.
I have a die. I'm going to roll the die until I get 1 through 4. And then let's say it comes up with number 3. That's Tim. He will then get to pick which order he goes in, what position in the whole chain, and then we'll keep doing that until we get to everybody.
We do
All
have a
right.
listener question. When is this challenge? They want to know.
Well, we haven't announced.
It's in 2023.
All right. Rolling the die.
Does anybody want to put any money on this before we?
The first person to pick, I rolled a number 2. So the first person to pick his spot is Steven.
Oh man,
Oh.
I was almost hoping I was going to go last. So
Same. That's how I
Just,
feel.
what's your strategy here, Steven?
Jeez.
Like,
How I
what are
feel.
you thinking about when you pick which place to go?
This is really hard. I probably should have thought about this more beforehand. Just
I started thinking about it
It
as
ends
Greg
up
was
happening,
talking. I was like, oh shoot, if he rolls my number first, what am I going to
Yeah.
pick? Because
Um,
you got a few different considerations, because we obviously, I'm trying to give you some time here, Stephen. We have to get Greg's going to do whatever he's going to do. The second person goes after him. Third person has to incorporate getting back to Tokyo, because we need to
Mhm.
take that first class
I feel
flight.
like that's
So
kind of
that
the
could
worst
be-
spot.
Could be challenging.
I've already decided I'm not going to take the third leg. I'm just trying to decide whether to do the second leg, because then I feel like you have the chance to do something a bit more exotic, or whether to like do something on the US side of things, because even though in theory that's potentially easier in terms of like language and things like that and familiarity, it also adds the challenge that you've got to really up your game, because like it'll probably seem like that's a little bit easier, and so you would need to come up with something pretty special in order to win it there. So jeez. Okay, I'm gonna pick
We should
second
have a
leg
clock.
and just be
Second
Oh,
leg. Second
all right.
leg.
I'm like, I'm
Wow.
gonna
Second leg.
say I feel like you chose what I feel like that was the right choice, but I'll
You know, I'm
fall
All
kind of
right.
surprised, because I kind of thought Steven would go with, he's on the 5-year 50-state road trip. I thought maybe he would go for something like he might have an idea in North America. Interesting.
So are we allowed to swap with someone else later on? If someone else wants a second leg, and then I have
You sound interested, Nick.
It depends on which other inducements are attached to that swap.
All right. It took me 2 rolls to get the next player. So the first roll was a 5, which no one's a 5 on the screen. So number 4, Nick. gets
Oh,
first.
Nick's turn.
Oh, this is tough, because I really wanted to pick something in Asia, but I really didn't want that third slot.
Now you turn to
So
to Tokyo.
yeah, it's tougher. And man, do I want that something in Asia, but I
Also,
almost
Nick, we know that you can go to 3 continents within 2 days easily.
right.
I guess we
Well,
could-
Tim and Ma now.
That's why I say Asia, and I'm thinking to myself, Asia.
Well,
But-
then why aren't you thinking to yourself, the Americas?
Well, so my struggle here also is that I got to think of the other players, right? Because I got to think of where your strengths are. So I feel like Carrie and Tim both could be pretty strong in Asia. So do I want to take that and not give them the chance to plan something there? You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and take the first slot when we get back to the Americas. I'm going to jump out of my comfort zone and take the first slot when we get back to the Americas.
That's
I'm
exciting.
So interested.
Okay. Because I'm
All
curious
right.
to see what these guys come up with. And I'm a little disappointed
So
that I
interested.
didn't get to pick Steven's slot, but only
Yeah.
a little.
Well,
We'll
the
see.
thing is,
I have a
the one that you've just picked is one that was the other one that I was seriously considering. So I don't know. Maybe we'll both be like.
Well, you
So
see, the
we-
advantage behind my slot, though, is I know I'm going from San Francisco, so the
Yeah.
world is my oyster. Like
Right.
I can get just about anywhere and without having to worry about where anybody leaves me. So
Well, and you can
There's an
effectively start
advantage
planning now. Like you could start.
right.
Mhm.
It's
mean,
no
you get
accident,
it
Tim.
right on.
It's no accident. Mom and raised no fool.
Good for you.
Oh, so all that stuff about not wanting to miss out on what cool things we have planned was just
It was just subterfuge.
a charade.
Anyway, I find this exciting. I feel like we're headed to the tip of Argentina or somewhere, you know.
Never know. You never know.
That's getting into the other circle. Anyway, it took me about 5 rolls to finally get a valid roll to pick the remaining 2, and I rolled a number 3. So that would
Oh.
be Tim.
Ooh.
Ooh. Well, then the
Oh
question
man.
who,
This is
who would
sexist dice.
Who would I rather go after, Steven or Nick? I feel like Steven will leave me more well rested, whereas Nick,
You're just
Where were you getting that idea
I
from?
don't like. Ideally, I would like the slot number 5, but I feel like I'm going to sleep about 4 hours on Nick's 2 days. So
If I plan it right.
I'll do slot number 5.
All right.
Slot number
All right.
5. All
Slot
right.
number 5.
So then that leaves me with the returning to Tokyo slot.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
My whole goal was to not have to decide myself because I'm terrible at making decisions. This worked
So
out.
you won.
This worked out really well.
I'll try not to sabotage you by putting us in like Rome or something like that. So then you've got to like get from Rome to somewhere and then on to Tokyo.
I did think
Yes.
the final slot is the most like you could do whatever you want with leg 5 because we haven't given a rule of needing to return anywhere. So I did think that was kind of that would have been a good slot.
Totally.
All right. So
now I can
there you
say
go.
it's
So
Rome
It's all
and
solidified.
Tokyo. How's everyone feeling? Is anyone jealous of anybody else's?
Oh, I'm definitely jealous of Steven's slot. Like that
Steven's slot.
would have been
Steven
my
got the
first
best.
pick for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it would have been those
That's-
2 days. But he's got it. He's gonna have now the pressure's on.
But now
Everybody
I don't
wanted
know
that
if I
slot.
would want to swap with you because now you're so keen on it. I don't want to give him this one.
Never
Pressure
mind.
is on, Steven. Pressure is on.
that's awesome.
Steven's undoing his offer to trade.
all right.
All right. So
Well,
we've got
very
the
good.
order.
So
Cool.
we'll be talking more and writing more about the challenge as we develop the plans more and seeking input from viewers and readers and everything too about parts of it. So
For the reader
Can't
who
wait.
asked when, not very, very soon. I mean, obviously, we got to plan this whole thing out. And so, we've each got to plan our pieces and kind of pass the baton. So that's going to take a while. And we got to coordinate all the schedules and everything. So it's not that we're trying to be, coy about it. It's that we have a lot of planning to do before we
I think
divulge details, but we'll get there.
yeah. I think it's fair. It's safe to say at least it's in the first half of this year.
There you go.
You're not going to have to wait beyond that.
Right. There you go.
Exciting.
All right.
All right.
I guess that's the end, right?
That wraps us
So
up, I guess.
thanks everybody
Yeah.
for watching. Hopefully you had a chance to click the like button on YouTube, and if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. That helps us out. And
leave another comment down below, because those help too.
Yeah. There you go.
Unless it's a negative comment, then send that to pam@frequentmiler.com.
All right.
Good.